Today's discussion is a great topic discussion. Being here at the auto show and talking about electric vehicle installations, there's been a lot of discussions on how this can interconnect with your home, building that infrastructure, and also incorporating possible renewable energies like solar as far as charging that particular unit, right? So we have industry experts here that I am glad to say that I know and have worked with. Experts in the IBEW Local 134, we have Robert Hattier. He is the business representative and executive director for the Illinois IBEW Renewable Energy Fund. We also have Denise Munoz, ComEd Strategic Planning and Innovation. Thank you. And last but not least, we have Brian Haug, president of Continental Energy Solutions. Welcome to our panelists. All right, so we're going to have each of the panelists provide an introduction of their fit, their title, introduce themselves, and where they fit in the space as far as their expertise. After that, we'll have some questions that we have fielded from the audience in our partnership here at the Auto Show from individuals that have asked questions about these particular topics. And if you so choose, we'll have questions from the audience around what you see or what questions you have around electric vehicle and the infrastructure and possibly renewable energies connected to it. So first up, Bob Hattier.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today? Enjoying the show? All right. So I know some of you were at the presentation earlier, but what we're talking about here today is essentially if you're interested in an EV, some of the other options that may be out there. And I'm going to focus on residential solar power as one option. And if you're not familiar with solar power, it is generating electricity with through the photovoltaic effect with the sun and chemistry. And we're able to harness that energy and utilize it for any purpose that we need it to do. We can design a system around one individual electrical appliance, or we could tie it into the entire structure that we need. Why solar power is so beneficial? It actually serves many different purposes. We have lots of different reasons why people are choosing this. One is the environmental benefit, the fact that you're doing your part to create clean electricity that is not harming your neighbors and future generations down the road. There's also another benefit associated with solar, which is energy independence, the ability to generate your own electricity for your own purposes. That can also, tied in with storage, provide you backup power when you need that in case of an outage or other reasons there. But a lot of people are going solar, and you've probably seen this a lot in more recent years due to the economic benefits. I like to say that solar hits all three, and we need to focus on all three, but most people I know make decisions with their wallets, and they're focusing on the return on investment. And that's the important thing. Solar can have a return on investment because everything you're generating, you're not purchasing from the utility. So there is a value there. One thing to keep in mind, what's driving a lot of the financial benefits is incentive programs, whether that's from the federal government or the state of Illinois, hopefully soon with the utility. We'll see. What we need to know about those incentive programs is that they are payable to the system owner. And there are other ways of getting solar. If you lease a system, you do not own it, so you will not receive any of the federal state incentives. So it's very important that when you're pursuing your options, that you look at purchasing these systems. I kind of look at it as when I walk into a store and someone's coming up to me to try to sell me something, or someone's calling my phone to sell me something, or sending an ad to my phone, it's probably working out in their favor more than it's working out in my favor. So what I want to do is go through the process, if you're considering solar, what you should consider here. Before I do that, tying this back to EVs, we do have to remember that an electric vehicle is really a mobile energy storage device. We do have the capability of using that energy stored for transportation for other purposes, whether it be backup power or in the future actual bidirectional energy flow at the utility. And pairing that EV with solar, now we're generating our own fuel. And I don't think we're allowed to make gasoline in our garages, but we are able to make our own electrons. So this is a very important thing to pay attention to. So going through the process here, what you always want to start with is meeting with a licensed, bonded, and insured electrical contractor. The reason for that is these are electrical systems, just like that electric vehicle infrastructure is, just like any other electrical appliance in your house is. And that electrical contractor has the capability of working on all of those different devices in your home. And it's really the time to have that conversation about what you're thinking about now, but also thinking about for the future. Adding energy storage or solar or an EV to your current electrical service may require an upgrade. If you're also considering whole home electrification, removing natural gas from your property, that's a conversation you want to have that then when you're first meeting with your electrical contractor, so they can keep that in mind when they're sizing their electrical service. They could also provide examples on how to improve the efficiency of the electrical devices in your home, whether it's lighting retrofits, lighting upgrades, getting into other electrical appliances there. After that, if you want to move forward, after that consultation, that's when you go through a site assessment process. You want to have your home evaluated, not just on the electrical service side, but if you're planning on rooftop solar, what is the structural integrity of that roof? How old is the roof? All these are things that have to be taken into account. I know I've gone through, seen companies that go through and just look online, they look at your property online and say, that's great for solar, but they haven't gone out there and don't know that your roof is 25 years old, and it's not going to be appropriate for solar. The electrical contractor is also going to know any codes or zoning requirements that are going to be unique to the municipality that you live in. Some of them are beneficial to the customer because they have a solar zoning ordinance that streamlines the permit. Others may have more strict requirements that may not be applicable in all locations. So that's also very important. And then we get into the installation process. And we want to make sure that when we're getting these systems installed, that we're utilizing a qualified workforce. One that not only understands the components that are being installed at that moment, but how the entire system all ties together. So you want to make sure when you're working with your electrical contractor that that workforce truly understands the work and that they have been trained. Finding a contractor through Power in Chicago is a great way to do that. They'll also go through any material specifications of the electrical equipment, and then that'll lead into the inspection. You want to have that electrical contractor there for the inspection, and that's really public safety. That's your municipality saying, hey, we want to have another set of eyes on this to make sure that that system was installed properly. That seems like the end, but it's not. What's next? All the filing for the incentive programs. You need to work with a contractor that truly understands the tax credits and how that can benefit you, and also the SREC program, which is our state incentives, and then any future incentives that may be down the line, and that's still not the last point. We have to consider these systems last 25 years. The energy storage systems may be a little bit less than that. Solar is 25. We need to make sure that there are visual inspections, operations and maintenance, warranty issues, all that should be discussed as well. And that's really where a contractor isn't just handing this over to you. It's really a partnership you're entering into, because they want to make sure that that system operates well too. I have a few more points here, but I think I'll pass it down and we'll come back to questions.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name's Denise Munoz. I'm the Director of Strategic Planning and Innovation for ComEd. I actually was the Director of Energy Efficiency, so I'm going to work in a lot of the energy efficiency conversation into this topic, because I do believe it's very, very crucial to customers who are considering solar. But anyway, before I get into that, because it's something that I truly am passionate about, we definitely, in customer solutions, our job is to be a trusted energy advisor for our customers. We encourage folks to, come to ComEd when they want to talk to us about alternatives, energy efficiency, clean energy options. So if any of you were here earlier this morning, I talked about EVs and, our EV tool calculator. But what I also want to talk to this group about today is our solar calculator, since that's the conversation we're having. But before I do go there, as I mentioned, energy efficiency, very, very crucial to looking at, the power draw of the appliances, your lighting, the insulation, how efficient your home is. Because if your goal is to install a solar system that's displacing most of your load, right? It's an investment to go solar. Energy efficiency can be done pretty cost effectively, and we do have a number of rebates for those available today. So, very much going to the store, looking at lighting on the shelves. We work with a number of contractors to provide incentives if you're looking at new HVAC equipment in your home. We can also, you can come and schedule a home energy assessment. So again, right, we're coming in to talk to see what you have and your opportunities, the dollars that are available for you to make that investment more cost effective. Once you've done that, then yes, definitely go to our website. We have a solar calculator as well. And even though I can't tell you the age of your roof, our tool does look at, and we, you can put in your address. We, if you're tied to your My Account through ComEd, we can also load the usage in your home. But it will look at the aerial view of your home to see, if it's in a good orientation, if you have a lot of shading. So it can just kind of even tell you from an aerial perspective, is my home a good candidate for solar, right? If you've got a lot of trees, and probably not. I would say stick with the trees because that helps cool your house. But the one point that Bob mentioned is, if you are going to make a private investment in solar, we do highly encourage the use of qualified electricians. And then if you're planning to interconnect your system, it's very, very important that you fill out an interconnection agreement. Contractors can advise you as such, because we are very concerned about the safety of our workers as well. Like if there are outages, these are you're a generator essentially, and we want to make sure that our linemen are safe and we know where these projects are at. But most importantly, right, we're very, very invested in delivering reliable service to our customers and operating a very reliable grid for everyone. Let me see, I wanted to see. There was something else you mentioned, Bob, that I was trying to address. Well, currently, I was going to say, going back to the solar tool, you can go in and, currently we do not, there are larger DG rebates that are available. I should say that. So you can go on the tool, find out what's, eligible for your project. And if, for some reason solar is not right for you because maybe you live in an apartment or a multifamily dwelling unit, we also offer what is called community solar. So we're working with, larger developers for solar farms, and, you can actually offset and purchase some kilowatt hours that are being produced by those solar installations. So in a sense, you are receiving, solar to your home. It's just coming from a larger community solar project. And, our customers are saving with that as well. My understanding is we've just completed our 75th community solar project, and we're continuing to work on that more. So we're really excited about that. And, so if you want any more information, we've got a lot of brochures that are available at our booth right around the corner. It can guide you through a lot of questions you may have. This one's more specific on the solar calculator, but this one can go through like some of the different options that are available for you, and just some of the questions you may have and things you want to consider for your project. So I didn't bring enough here, but we have plenty right around the corner. I'm going to highly encourage folks to go and visit the team that we have working today. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and pass it off to you.
Great. Thanks, Denise. And welcome, everybody, this evening. My name is Brian Haug. I'm the president of Continental Energy Solutions. And Continental is a full-service electrical contractor. We're an IBEW signatory contractor and affiliated with the NECA as well, National Electrical Contractors Association. But our focus for what Continental does is on the commercial side. But I will tell you, even if you're thinking about doing solar on the commercial side, what Denise said about energy efficiency is the first step to take. That's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck, is switching your fluorescent lights or incandescent lights to LED, and taking care of some of the other big loads that are in your facility before you start investing in a solar array. But what we focus on is think of commercial, large-scale, big box, Walmarts, Target stores, Home Depots, and other large-scale commercial and industrial solar solutions. Continental designs and installs those and maintains them for years to come. But one thing many people don't know about solar is if the grid goes down, which it doesn't very often. Our grid is very steady here in the Chicagoland area. But if the grid were to go down for a storm or something, you might think, well, I still have power because I've got a solar array. And the fact is, it shuts down, the solar does. And it's a requirement that it does that. So you don't generate electricity and put it back out on the grid and hurt the guy that's outside trying to fix the power outage. So solar goes down. The only way to bring a solar array back to life if the grid is down is to have some sort of a generation source inside your facility. And that's where large-scale batteries come in. And we're doing a lot of work here in Illinois. There's a fantastic incentives for solar and storage here in Illinois. There's even federal incentives for solar and storage that just came possible through the Inflation Reduction Act. But what a solar solution paired with a battery can do is, one, it can provide a microgrid for your facility to keep it up and running if the grid does go down. And when the grid is up and running, the batteries can be used for a couple other things. One is reducing some of the charges on your electric bill. This is on the commercial side again. It can be used to reduce some of the charges on your electric bill by participating in some of the wholesale energy markets. And it can also generate a revenue stream from you, for your business, by allowing the utility to use the energy in your battery to help stabilize the grid. It's called frequency regulation, and there's a few other uses that are out there that the utility can use and pay you a revenue stream. So with these large-scale batteries, and when I'm saying large-scale batteries, think about it's not something that's going to fit in your garage. These are basically the size of the semi-containers that are sitting right here behind me. Think of Tesla and Samsung. There's a few other names that we use, but they are in the megawatt size. So they're very large, but great solutions for a company when you're trying to meet some of your ESG goals, which is your environmental goals. Now, all of this plays into, a lot of companies now are trying to reduce their carbon footprint, right? That's a big focus, reducing your carbon footprint. So solar, of course, does, because you're using energy from the sun to utilize in your facility. Instead of using energy that's being generated from coal or natural gas powered plants. But the batteries as well help offset some of the emissions that are taking place from some of the peaker plants and such that are used in the electric grid that we have here in the United States. So companies can utilize solar and storage as help their scorecard for environmental emissions. Now, how does car charging play into this? The second, maybe it's the first largest producer of emissions is the automotive industry. So not only can we reduce our carbon footprint with solar and storage, but of course driving EVs. And I was an early EV adopter. I've been driving an electric vehicle since 2013, and I have one of the first versions of the Blink charger in my garage. It's still working. Thank you very much. But parlaying the solar and storage and electric vehicles into this entire footprint of a Walmart or a Target or Apt Electronics, for example, which is one of the, perhaps you've bought electronics from up in Glenview. They have a 500 kilowatt Tesla battery storage solution. They have 3 megawatts of solar on their roof, and they have a whole bunch of Tesla chargers and a few ChargePoint chargers out in front of their facility as well. And they collect their rainwater and use that for other purposes as well. So there is a lot that can be done with solar storage and EVs.
Thank you for that, Brian. And to follow up, I know that we're here regarding EV installations, and so I have a question. So how would renewable energy and battery storage benefit a community, critical facility, a school, a hospital, some of those large spaces? How would that be able to benefit those spaces?
So one of the things about batteries is they are not yet listed to provide emergency backup power for hospitals and other places that have critical needs. But there are several clinics that we're working with right now in the Chicagoland area that don't have the surgical needs and the backup power requirements that you'd get from a diesel generator, and they're switching their diesel generators out to battery storage to provide them the microgrid solutions and reducing their carbon footprint. This particular hospital group is. Their board, they took an internal look at themselves and thought, we're all about health of people and health of the environment. Why do we have these diesel generators sitting out here that are belching out emissions? Let's see if we can find a better solution. And that's one perfect solution that they've found to switch over to batteries.
Okay, and as a follow-up, because we are here for EVs, I'm sorry I'm picking on you, Brian, but how might battery storage play a role with the nation's transition to electric vehicles and the demand for fast charging stations?
Sure. Fast charging, as an EV driver, fast charging is critical for getting over range anxiety. When you're driving long distances, you have to be able to charge quickly and keep on going, so you're not sitting there for hours and hours and hours. But the grid is ever expanding and ever growing. When you're driving cross country, there are going to be places that aren't well served by public utilities. And there are solutions out there that we have worked on that utilize energy storage for that purpose. They have, instead of spending millions of dollars to do grid upgrades, say out in the middle of nowhere, to get fast charging, you could use energy storage to supplement the grid until the adoption of EV continues to grow and the grids can expand to support those chargers. So large-scale energy storage, like I said, having containers like the one behind me full of batteries can certainly support fast charging as the EV adoption continues to grow.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing to another benefit of storage with EV charging is when we get into fleet charging. So if we think about delivery fleets like the Amazon EVs that are out there now, or school buses as they go electric, the Postal Service is going electric. When all these vehicles come back from the route and they're plugging at the same time, that's going to be a very large demand on that facility and the electrical service, and in some cases could lead to demand charges, which would be increased cost associated with that energy. So having the energy storage on site can help supplement that added draw of plugging all these vehicles in at the same time.
That was a great point. Great point, Bob. I do have another question that was presented before we get to the audience to see if they have any questions. When it comes to home installations, we do have a model of a solar installation that incorporates and integrates EV charging. Is that something that consumers should be considering if they have certain limitations? And what would that look like for them?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you didn't get a chance, definitely go into our truck after this, and you can see the device we're talking about. There's one manufacturer that has a solar inverter, so it's sized a 40 amp solar inverter for a 200 amp panel that has a built-in level 2 EVSE into the disconnect. So what that does, if you're integrating two different technologies into the same electrical service, it allows you to use one 2-pole 40 amp circuit breaker for both devices. So if the solar is generating and the car is not being charged, it operates just like a solar inverter, but as soon as you plug the connector into the vehicle, now it operates as an EVSE or supply equipment. The other thing it does is if you are charging during the day, it's the only way you're going to get solar power kind of directly into your vehicle. Now the inverter is going to be taking DC energy from solar, turning it into AC power. The car is going to take that AC and turn it back into DC to store it in the vehicle. But if it's plugged in during the day while the sun is shining, you are getting solar energy directly into your vehicle.
And I just want to add one thing, because for me, all of that sounds kind of technical, and I'm an electrician that's been in for 23 years. So for the customers and the individuals that are sitting here in the audience, who should they be considering, and what kind of accreditations should they be looking for someone who's looking to install these technologies in their home?
Yeah, so again, I mentioned before, you want to start with your licensed, bonded, insured electrical contractor. And the workforce that they're going to employ, the qualified workforce that we offer through IBEW Local 134, you're going to be working with electricians that have gone through training in all aspects of electrical work and electrical safety. In the second year of their apprenticeship, they're actually learning solar power. They're getting experience on the rooftops. They're doing this work pretty much right from the beginning, which is great. We also have partnerships with high schools where we're actually offering that training before they get into the apprenticeship as well, which is also good. But when it comes to looking into getting this work done, the qualifications beyond the contractor is they have to be registered with the Illinois Commerce Commission. So with the state of Illinois, there is a certification as a distributed generation installer that's required. Completion of a Department of Labor electrical apprenticeship program is one of the pathways to achieve that certification. So all of our contractors will meet that. But that's one thing you'd look for. That's also required by the utility for interconnection and by the state incentive programs. So that's a big one. You also want to look at, for the electric vehicle charging, we have EVITP, which is the Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Training Program. That's another certification specific to EVs. You can find a list of our contractors that meet that if you go to the Power Chicago website, or if you go to evitp.org, you can find a list of approved contractors all across the country.
Okay, awesome. All right, I have one more question before I give it to the audience. So please, audience members, be thinking of that question. Denise, I have a question. So, of course, we're talking about all of this interconnecting and using electricity, and of course, Commonwealth Edison is the electrical supplier for this industry. Can you give us an idea of what the impact will be on the grid with all of this new technology that we're looking at? And is ComEd's grid resilient enough to take that?
Great question, Bert. Did you think I was feeling lonely up here?
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, I'm good. I'm learning a lot. I'm going to go into this truck as soon as we're done. I want to hear about this device myself because I wasn't sure that it existed. So this is exciting. I would say, again, I'm not trying to repeat myself from earlier this morning, but our grid, we are one of the most reliable grids in the country, and we've been investing in it for over 10 years. With the evolution of smart meters and a smart infrastructure, we've got smart substations. So we are just prepared for this evolving energy market. And one thing I didn't really focus on in this conversation was the EVs. It's new and exciting work, and we're definitely monitoring the usage patterns and such. But yes, I can't stress enough, though, if you are considering any type of interconnection of a generation system in your home, please, again, talk with your contractors who's doing your installation. They can help guide you. We also have a lot of information on our website about how to safely interconnect your system. I really appreciated you reinforcing the point about the safety of our linemen. It's very critical if there should be a storm or an outage that we're, again, aware of where these systems are, because it could put what we call backfeed on the line, and that's very much a concern for the safety of the linemen. So thank you, Bert. I hope that answered your question.
It did. It put it right there where I needed to be, and I was actually looking for that, and thank you for that answer.
So, it's technically not a requirement. However, yes, we are encouraging customers to register their EV. Again, you can go to ComEd.com/EV. We have information about registering your vehicle, because very much like your solar systems, and we're not even talking about wind, but when I started in renewables, some customers are actually putting in small wind generation, so this does not exclude wind. That's very much part of the conversation as well. We do want to know where these systems are, because, as we monitor, that helps us as, understand where the system is at, so we can, definitely, if we need to, look at capacity in those areas. again, we'll do studies and ensure that the reliability stays very resilient in those areas.
Thank you for that. So I wanted to go to the audience. Are there any questions in the audience? I want to give you an opportunity to ask anything that you have while we have the experts here. And please don't be afraid. This is not like high school where we're going to point at you and say, that was a silly question. All right. Well, listen, I want to, again, thank the panelists for their expertise. Oh, I do have a question. All right. Let me run over there real quick. Hold on. Here we go.
Hi, how you doing? So my question is probably for Denise, I believe it is, comment. So as an average residential owner, I install a garage charger, whether it's Blink or any other charging station. What would be the, let's say, average increase in my electric bill, depending on if it's a level 1 or level 2, well, not a level 3, but.
So I was still on. No, that's a really good question. So again, depending on, it's very consumer specific because depending on how many hours you drive, miles, that will impact the consumption. Now, what I talked about earlier today was the fact that we do offer an hourly pricing rate because we know a lot of consumers charge their batteries, in the off-peak hours. Typically, you're going to come home at the end of the day. Maybe you set it to charge when you go to sleep, right? Our electricity prices are lower during the off-peak if customers should choose to be on an hourly pricing rate versus our fixed price rate. The average rate for our, what most of our customers are on is about 11.4 cents, I believe, per kilowatt hour. And then if customers should be on an hourly rate, that average rate actually drops to about 7.4 cents. So again, I can't, if you go into the calculator, you can actually get a very personalized report for your usage, how many miles you drive, the cost per gallon that you're paying, and the rate that you're on. And if you're also, I know we were talking about EVs again before, I didn't plug that we are also sharing all the public charging stations that are in our service territory. So I wanted to, put that out there as well to address some of that range anxiety that you were mentioning earlier. So
I will add to that even though your electric bill will go up, your gas bill goes down more. Your gasoline bill goes down more. So there is overall savings by switching to EVs for sure.
Wonderful. Okay, we got one more question. All right.
Hi, how's it going? I was wondering, is there any terminology or tactics we should be aware of from an unlicensed installer that we should be aware of if we're looking to get into the EV for our home?
Okay, the question was, is there any thing that they need to be aware of, any terminology or contractors that they need to be looking for, maybe some accreditation that they need to be looking for in terms of qualified individuals installing solar panels?
Yes. Okay. Okay, so they're both electrical systems. So what you're looking for is an electrical contractor. There are companies out there that will try to sell you either one of these technologies, but they are not electrical contractors, so they can't perform the work. So you want to make sure that who you're selecting is truly licensed, bonded, and insured. That's on the contracting side, because an electrical permit will have to be pulled, there'll have to be an inspection, all that's required. Beyond that, you get into the workforce itself, and that's where there are different certifications or credentials. EVITP is the one I mentioned for EV. There's other credentials that you can have in the Solar World NABCEP, the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. I know it's a mouthful, but there are credentials out there. But really the best place to start is with an electrical contractor, because some of the companies that are trying to sell these technologies, you're forming a relationship with them, and they're already starting off really being disingenuous because they can't perform the work and they have to bring somebody else to the table.
So basically, there is a difference between installers and then those electrical electricians who actually perform the work. Understood. Yes, sir.
Yes, do you have to have a certain amount of insurance to have this system installed on your roof?
Thank you. The question was, do you have to have a certain amount of insurance as someone who's going to be performing the installs on the roof?
Was that the question? To perform the install?
Special insurance. Like, do you have to have any kind of special insurance? Am I saying it?
So if we're talking about installation, yeah, liability insurance would be required, and there's different policies out there. I know there's a minimum of $1 million general liability insurance policy that would be required. I didn't know exactly what your question was. Are you talking about the homeowner who gets the system that has to be insured? Okay, so and that's a different story. Right now, photovoltaic systems are covered under your standard homeowner's insurance policy. And I said the word right now for a reason. I have a feeling that as more and more systems go in, insurance companies, the more they shell out money, the more limitations they put on their policies. There may be a point in the future that we end up seeing a kind of like flood insurance, where it's something in addition because you put the photovoltaic system on. But currently, right now, it does fall under a standard homeowner's insurance policy.
All right. Well, listen, I want to thank all of you who are in the audience who have come out to Powering Chicago's EV Learning Center to learn more about not only the electric vehicle and its infrastructure and our capabilities within that space, but even the connection of renewable energies and connection to that with our industry. So thank you to our panelists, and I want to wish you all a continued good event at Chicago's Auto Show, and I want to thank again the guests and panelists for coming out. Thank you.